Hello, and I'm going to explain you what is cloud computing is. Cloud computing is a general term used to describe new class of network based that takes place over the internet. Normally what happens when cloud computing, what is a cloud computing? The computing which is done in cloud, that is in internet or not on your premise. If the cloud computing is done at the off premise or in the cloud or somewhere in the other place, then it is called as a cloud computing. Now what is the cloud computing exactly, having what type of setup is there exactly? In a cloud setup or in a cloud computing, basically you will find the computers, virtual network, virtual switches, virtual, all these devices are virtually available. This is available on the internet or in the cloud. A cloud provider is providing you all. So basically there are two things, one is on premise and one is a cloud. In a cloud, exactly what happens in a cloud, if the cloud provider, he purchase n number of computers, n number of resources, and he gives you all these resources as hardware, software and application as a services to you for you to consume it and pay the money for what you are consuming. But only thing is the difference between this and a cloud computing and on-premise computing. In a on-premise computing, you have to do everything, you have to manage everything. That is, if your application, your infrastructure like DHCP, DNS server, Active Directory is not working, then you have to have your engineer to work on that, and he has to resolve these problems. Even though this is not a problem of application, because of these infrastructure failure, your application is not available to your user, and you will be finding you will not able to do business properly because of IT infrastructure problems. Now here in this, all the applications are developed and deployed and managed on cloud actually. So here what is happening actually, if you have an application, in cloud, you just have to work on a application. You don't have to work on your infrastructure. You don't have to purchase the infrastructure. As if you are comparing with the online premise, there is a on premise, when you wanted to set up a business, what you need to purchase? You need to purchase first application. Now the application provider will tell you you have to purchase this server, this hardware, this PCs, this network, these things. So you have to purchase according to that what software person tells you. So you will be purchasing exactly like what he said. Now the thing is that to use this application, you need this infrastructure should be configured and ready for you to use it, right? Now if any problem occurs in these infrastructure like DHCP server, DNS server, or any other devices which is there in the on-premise network, your local engineer has to go and repair it, and he has to solve the problems. Now this is on-premise versus cloud computing. If you see, you just have to put an application which you can purchase from any vendor, software vendors, and you just ask them to get it installed on your cloud, and once it is installed in a cloud, you will get 99.95% high availability and auto scalability and load balancing, all those features of for the application from the cloud provider. A cloud provider will give you guarantee of 99.5% your application is available. How he is making this available? Because he is having cloud infrastructure. A cloud infrastructure just like your on-premise infrastructure, this is also a cloud infrastructure they have with them, right? Where they have thousands of servers, thousands of switches, thousands of workstation and all, but they are giving it to for the public. So public can take these some resources, compute, network and storage. These are the three basic or major part of cloud. So compute is, you can compare this thing with physical machine or physical server, physical machine, physical PC, physical server. compute. Storage, you can compare this thing with your NAS storage. You can say local storage, which is there in your machine, or those storage. So this is a compute, and the second one is the storage, and third one is a network. A network is a network, just like your on-premise, you have a network in cloud. What is this network is doing? It is connecting all the servers in your cloud. So your cloud is having all the features which is there in on-premise, but here in cloud, the all infrastructure is maintained by the Microsoft people. The Microsoft engineers are handling all these things at cloud actually. So what is the advantage exactly? So what is the cloud computing? Cloud computing is nothing but infrastructure is put upon cloud. You don't have to purchase any hardware, server, network, or anything in your premise. You just have to purchase a subscription. Now this is subscription based infrastructure services, PaaS, platform as a services, and software as a services. So these are the three parts of the cloud computing which you are selling it to customers. So cloud computing is basically nothing but a computers in a data center, which is at data center is somewhere in, not in your premise, not in your country, maybe or may not be in your state. So it can be somewhere else where thousands and thousands of computers are there, on which your application is running, and these infrastructure is having a auto scalability, high availability, and load balancing, and antivirus protection, and spam protection, and all type of protection in their environment by which you are actually so it's basically, so the simple and straightforward, a cloud computing is done using virtual machines, virtual these things which is there on the internet. Using that, we are actually doing the same job which we are doing in on-premise. So in on-premise, we are doing a job of our daily business process. Right now we are doing on-premise. Now we can move this all workloads, the jobs in cloud. So the thing is that we will be getting advantage of moving into cloud is this, that we don't have to purchase a hardware. We don't have to take the services of services of hardware engineer, computer engineer, network engineers. We don't have to do that. When the business increases, suddenly application increases also. When the business increases, sudden changes in the business application require more resources from your network. In on-premise, we cannot provide these resources as required because it's required dynamically. When we are saying about the cloud, when we are saying about the application, so application, for example, if I'm a businessman and if I have a setup application for ticketing, railway ticketing, I can give you the example of railway ticketing, where the cloud computing, uses of cloud computing in a central railway or the ticket, when we are going and purchasing a ticket from the online internet, what happens? Suddenly you will find when the peak season comes in a summer season, there are a lot of people are trying to purchase the tickets from the railways, right? In that case, the server which is providing you the tickets, what happens? More number of connection occurs on these, require more number of resources, more number of servers, more number of memories, more number of all these things. For this, what happens? Your server fails to perform. Your application fails to perform. It will not able to give the tickets to many people, or you will find unnecessarily you're not able to access the site and all those things. Why it is happening? Because your resources is required more, which is not available. So what we have to do in this case, in physical environment, we have to purchase another hardware, and then we have to install the OS again, install and configure the application on that. And once we will be configuring and adding the application on that, then we can start using the more number of workload on this. So what happens? The expenses is going high and high in this, right? When we are purchasing more number of hardware, infrastructure, in IT infrastructure cost increases, right? On top of that, we are able to maintain. Again, if this increases, then again we have to purchase this hardware. But what happens when the peak hours is over? When the peak hour is over, when the peak time is over of my April, the application suddenly stops. I mean, there people are not many people are connecting to the our central site. I mean, the railway site or our to server. So in that case, we don't need those extra servers. Now, once we have purchased, we cannot return back this server to the vendor, and we are just keeping this idle with us. So our capex cost is increases in this capex as well as opex, that is operational cost is increases, and capital cost is increases actually, even though we don't need that. So here in cloud computing you will find the auto scalability is the features by which when application needs more and more number of resources, dynamically it can take the pool from the pool of cloud computing, from the pool of Azure cloud or Azure cloud. You can pull the resources whenever it is not required. You can release the resources. So you have to pay only for the charges. I mean, you have to pay the charges only for the resources when you are using in peak time, right? So your capex and opex both are saving in this. So this is one of the best example of cloud computing is. So this is how cloud computing is. I have explained you, and I have explained you Microsoft Azure as a cloud computing, how it is actually helping you out in day-to-day business. Practical examples I have given you. So this is what is a cloud computing. Cloud computing is this. Now basically this is one thing which I have explained you. This is all related to IaaS.